Oh boy, now this is lore. Welcome back to Motherland Ursus, where today we have a ride through the terrible and the great. We're having a look at Rhine Lab and all the shady stuff going inside it. Let me introduce you to our shiniest faces, the biggest players in this game. We are in Three Mounts, Colombia, a huge city in a huge country. And why is it huge? Technological advancements, of course. There are many big research companies in the city, and one of them is one of our protagonists, Rhine Lab. Of course, both of these aren't really faces, not as much as they are places at least, but the representatives in them are very important to us. Kirsten, Mulsize, Saria, Dorothy, Ferdinand, all from Rhine Lab, and playing from the other side, Horrifying and the government of Three Mounts. There are many less shiny faces that are still important, but we will name them as they appear. The event begins with a miasma in the air. Mulsize marks an appointment with Saria to talk business, and we know that being Mulsize, it can't be good. Even more when she wants to talk to Saria, who is technically not part of Rhine Lab anymore. And if that was not enough to put you on your toes, Mulsize gets attacked by the burb snack mommy, Ohaya. Mulsize isn't really what we would call strong. She has great technique with her arts in controlling water molecules, but she isn't a fighter. We've seen her using her abilities to a great extent when it comes to running away before. And she's trying her best now. She has been followed a long way since she left Rhine Lab HQ to meet Saria. But when she's confronted face to face, she has nothing she can do. She's helpless. Ohaya seems to be able to control the air around her, and that is very strong against someone who can't just spawn fire and light out of nowhere as many of her ops do. But man, what with these convoluted arts? Are we JoJo now? Anyway, Ohaya isn't very strong herself as well, but she has some help. She's controlling the power armors we see during the event stages, so with both things she puts Mulsize down. Not very far from there, Saria waited for too long, but she expected Mulsize to be late. That isn't a big deal. What made Saria act was a message. We don't know from who, it could have been from Mulsize, but probably from Kirsten. The point is, Mulsize ain't showing up, and since we are dealing with big fish, Saria does the thing and puts Rhodes in the case. Truth is, it's not really clear why Rhodes is here in 3 months, but we also have a problem with Pitlopsis to solve. We'll come back to her in a moment. Doctor comes himself together with Mechanist, a new character, and a very important one for Rhodes Island. Mechanist is not only an elite operator, which we are supposed to have some but we don't see them very often. He is also a close duo with Logos, a big name, and you'll know that if you follow any Rhodes lore. So we know this guy is some stuff, alright? And he sure must be, since he's the only op Doctor brought for this mission. Dude out here soloing more than Ling. Mechanist is also a former member of Rhine Lab and is the one to give us some insight on how things work around here. Research labs are packed with action, and all 4 former Rhine Lab employees have at least one story to tell. If you need any reminder, Ifrit is one of those experiments gone wrong. But a good time can't last, and they get attacked by a power armor, sent by Horrifying without showing herself. Mechanist doesn't know this technology, but it isn't impressive to see something new around here. As he fights, Saria shows up to make quick work of the armor and explain what happened. We also discover the armors are not piloted, until Saria breaks one head open and we have the first sight of our plot, a silver liquid. And inside the armors is not the only place we will see this silver liquid. At Rhine Lab, we have a commotion going on. A group of pioneers commanded by Sony lures Pitlopsis and Astrid in saying they have someone sick who needs help, and proceeds to kidnap them. They are trying to rebel against Rhine Lab because some of them have been vanishing since accepting help from Dorothy. She has been promising a great future with no inequality to all the pioneers. No more dealing with infected problems and a great future for their families. The thing is, as soon as they accept, they don't come back. Sony and the others believe they signed a deal with the devil and Dorothy simply convinced them to become lab rats. But she's the true lab rat. Anyway, Dorothy truly believes in what she says. Being from a pioneer family herself, she really wants to help. And as far as she knows, she's doing what she promised. But we will get there, because this whole deal brought us to a situation where Sony has Pitlopsis as hostage and demands the experiments to stop. They even have police and everything around the pioneer quarters. By the way, the only cop we actually see is Mary. She's childhood friends with Sony. No biggie, I wonder what could go wrong here. As they are trying to reach an agreement, Silence and Greyy show up. Sure, Silence is worried about her friend, but what is Greyy doing here? They hear Petlops is getting a neuropathy attack and tell the police they are going in. Easy like that, no questions asked. Silence gives some first aid to Petillo, and to excuse Grey's existence in this story, the cops cut out the energy and he brings it back, as the electrician puppy he is. I'll tell ya, Arknights isn't economic in words when it doesn't want to be, but when we need some decent explanation, nah, stuff just happens to keep the lore moving. We have a moment to develop the character's motives, and as soon as Greyy brings energy up, as Jeannie arms herself with her wand and calls for help from the lab. But what comes is not help, it's the silver liquid, it's here to kill everyone. And oh boy, what an intro that was. But now we got to the real deal. Saria has an idea about how the armors are being controlled, so she goes find someone who knows some stuff. And what better place than a bar? We meet an old Rhine employee living a terrible life under the fear of being erased from the stuff he knows. Turns out, he does indeed have a connection to the silver liquid. He was part of the research. Many bodies from his operation table are in the substance. That is a big confirmation for Saria. It's all from Rhine Lab. It's all from the same investor. Just another case, just like with Ifrit. But do you know who isn't all that happy with this info? Horrifying? She shows up to intimidate everyone, and the drunk guy even tried to suicide with a fake tooth filled with poison. But don't worry, we have a doctor. In original research. Anyway, Saria and Horrifying fight, and we see that she isn't very strong, but she gets away without much effort. Even knowing she's prepared, the group goes after her and runs headfirst into some armors. And just as Saria is about to finish the last one, Doctor notices something is different and stops her. Turns out Mulsize was inside the last armor, knocked out. Horrifying expected us to kill her. After she wakes up, Saria finishes figuring out what is going on. Ferdinand wants to take control of Rhine Lab, but he won't hold back anymore. He's using Dorothy's experiments to create a weapon, and his intention is to sell this weapon as a means to acquire support. So why don't we talk a little bit about Ferdinand and the others involved? Ferdinand is a big player in Rhine, one of the biggest investors from the beginning. We know that from Parvis. We have a scene where he talks about when Rhine started, and as the old dog he is, he can't help but feel nostalgic about the early days. There was even a time when Saria accepted to dance with Ferdinand at a party. Parvis is Saria's and Silence's mentor, and is also responsible for starting the project that led to Ifrit's situation. But these days are over. Ferdinand is a businessman with megacorp villain vibes. We've seen people like this before in Casimirs, but I'd argue this guy is worse than that. His objective? Lead the world into a new epic, and be on top of it. What would be more villainous than that? He's hiring Horrifying as a mercenary, as well as moving men from the Rhine Defense Department. And just to add, he also has Jean as his assistant, and she really respects the man, as she always feels like people don't respect her for who she is. Being Astasia's sister, her family expects too much from her. As for Parvis, he isn't taking part in the whole deal this time, and we get to see why he is known as an opportunist. He's watching from the sidelines, just waiting to see who will come out on top, be it Ferdinand or Kirsten. He'll be there with the winner. And I guess I should mention, Kirsten is the head of Rhine Lab, and an old roommate for Saria. The last face we need to introduce finally is Dorothy. As I said before, she has reasons for wanting a better world for everyone. The thing is, she's completely nuts. Dorothy has no reason, only emotion, and she would go as far as killing everyone if that meant no one would have to fight anymore. She is the head researcher in the experiments taking place in this event, and knowing all of that, Doctor's group heads toward Rhine Lab to talk to Kirsten, and hopefully put an end to Dorothy's project and Ferdinand's endeavors. But on the other side, we have Silence's group trying their best to survive the attack from the silver liquid. And it's not easy. Those things can disintegrate anything if they are in a large enough number. They don't seem to suffer damage from anything, and all they can figure out is that the silvers follow light, but only for a short while. They receive a telepathic message from Dorothy telling them to come to the lab and they will be safe. Obviously, the pioneers don't want to follow her, but Silence tells them to do it because at least for now, she's trying to help. Yeah, being a mad woman was not enough. She has a device for telepathy in her brain. The pioneer group is not happy. All they want is to flee from this nightmare of a place. But Sonny has a plan. He plays nice, following Silence to Dorothy's lab, and as soon as they enter and meet her, Sonny jumps at her. Armed with a crossbow, he's here to end the experiments himself. But what a nice guy Sonny is. He can't pull the trigger on Dorothy. She's just too nice, and her voice is too soothing. She talks about helping everyone, and how she can't let the experiment end now. She's doing what she promised, and the only way to keep doing it is to finish the project. Sonny ends up shooting at the equipment instead, and that does nothing, except make more silvers appear and start attacking again. Given the new situation, they actually try to beat Dorothy, but now she has her guard up. With her arts, she can create a thin layer of sand, strong enough to protect her from attacks. And if that wasn't enough, she also uses it to numb everyone's senses. I'm telling you, this is JoJo we are watching, it's not Arknights anymore. Anyway, Silence uses her drones as a fun and everyone is okay. Oh man, what to say? A drone as a fun. Okay. As Jean, with Silence's help, finds the core of the experiments, a room where all missing people are sleeping in a vegetative state. Their brains are connected to machines, and they are the ones controlling the silver liquid. Dorothy had been keeping everyone in there, not only pioneers, but also some low-ranking researchers who worked close to her. They all became a single massive caster controlling the silver liquid. This is the experiment. This is what Ferdinand wants to use as a weapon. As soon as Jean gets to the room, Dorothy crumbles. She got defeated. To explain it very clearly, this project has two parts. The first one is the transmitter. The stuff the drunk guy Saya met earlier helped develop. This transmitter is a liquid injected into one's bloodstream, and in accessing the brain, it gives the user full arts potential. Obviously not for free, but the side effects are not understood. The second part is what Dorothy is doing now, using the barriers of the transmitter to create a hive mind. And if one powerful caster can destroy an army of powerful casters could do anything. The deal is, Ferdinand wants this project to be a weapon, but Dorothy only wants it as a means to achieve peace. In the hive mind she's creating, there is no inequity, and her dream is for the whole world to be part of it. Let me say this real quick. The game really, but really wants you to accept all the atrocity Dorothy is doing as something good. As just a little whoopsie, and you gotta understand her motives and forgive her because it's all for a good cause. But tell me, can you really accept all the terrible stuff this woman has done? I'll leave it as that. Let us continue. Dorothy, after noticing she's defeated, starts to say all the stuff a villain turned good guy would. She's ashamed of her luck, being a chosen one from a group of pioneers who rose to the top and has all the luxuries no one she loved could ever imagine. She says she doesn't understand why Sonny is mad, and all she wants is a great future. But Silence stops her, saying this is nothing but a dream, and all she's doing is putting the lives of all those people into the hands of big corporations, to be used for eternity. By the way, at this point, Sonny, again, wants to kill Dorothy, but Pete Lopes stops him. For real, the lore is good, but come on! Some points are just unbearable. They terminate the project, at least as far as they know, because we still have 2 stages and an extra scene to go through. As Jean receives a call from Ferdinand, telling her to get out of the lab, and finally, as Jean gets some sense into their little head and starts to doubt Ferdinand. She really wanted to believe Ferdinand didn't know what was going on, but he did, and now she has a reason to stop being his little girl. He only called us Jean because he didn't want to lose a loyal ally, but if she's not going to obey, she's just another number. The clock is ticking for Ferdinand. His business partner, the Colonel, wants the stuff now, and this is why he's on the move, to get the result of the experiment. Also, remember Mary, Sonny's friend, the cop? Yeah, She finally entered the Pioneer quarters, ages after they are gone, and she finds Greyy, who was tasked by Sony to deliver a letter to her, in which he explains the experiments and everything. She goes to the lab and screams she's there to arrest a kidnapper. Does anyone even remember what she's talking about? But here we are, at the climax of the event, where this stuff happens. Personnel from defense invades the Pioneers' quarters and starts to give transmitter shots to everyone. Silas and Pitolopsis find it very strange, but defense refuses to give them info. They don't even talk to Dorothy, telling her she lost her position as overseer of the project and it's all in Ferdinand's hands now. And everyone sees it raising from Dorothy's lab. The experiment is finished. It's the boss of the event, and what Ferdinand wanted. Dorothy is stunned at the sight, as she says it was too late. She was so amazed by her own creation that she almost got hit by a flying brick. Thankfully for her, Silence was there to save her. Now we have a huge situation going on. Mechanist is fighting Horrifying and her armors. She was trying to hold back Rhodes Island. Terra is trying to invade Rhine Lab and get to Kirsten. And in doing so, she has to fight all the defense personnel by herself. Greyy and Silence are trying to hold back the boss. Telopsis is kinda out right now. As Jean decides to make a move and jumps into a vent to get to the control room where Ferdinand is. Sonny and Mary are fighting defense personnel together because yes, it is a lot. There's not much Greyy can do, but he can keep his arts up to confuse the boss, since it's attracted to light. Silence explodes her drone up high in the sky to do the same thing. They are only not dead yet because Dorothy's sand barrier seems to be strong enough to keep the Silvers away. But she has an idea. Dorothy wants to take a transmitter shot to enter the hive mind. How does the transmitter by itself suddenly puts everyone in the hive mind? I got no clue. But we are going with it now. Ferdinand is having an evil laugh moment seeing his creation and its destructive powers. As Jean gets to him just to be useless and to be immobilized by a single guard, or so it looks like. We will come back to them. But until then, know that Jean keeps calling Ferdinand a liar, heartless and everything else. And he keeps telling her she still has time to be on his side as he sees her potential. Saria gets to Kirsten, just to see that she doesn't give a damn about what's going on, and she would love to show Saria what she has been working on. Reason enough for Saria to be mad and start a monologue about how people matter and Kirsten should care. Understandable. Mulsais tells Doctor that she doesn't expect Kirsten to help, but she wanted to be here because she was worried about her safety. For the love of God, woman, how in heavens do people like you? Back to Dorothy. Silence tries to speak her out of the idea because Dorothy is the only one who has any knowledge to bring the people with the transmitter back. And of course, she doesn't listen to it. She enters the hive mind. And what she sees is her dream. What she always wanted. It's right here. A comfy place with all the people she helped, and she can't help but cry. Again, the game is trying to make us accept all Dorothy did, showing her pain having to go against the utopia she created. We don't see what she does in there, but we know it's working, because the boss starts to calm down until it flies back to the lab and collapses. Ferdinand gets the reports. The subjects at the lab got disconnected. The boss is dead. The project is over. He's in shambles. But it is not over for him. As Jean used her arts to control the comm panel and call the cops on him. The authorities rush into the room just for Ferdinand to plead a call to the colonel. And in saying that, he sees all guns pointed at his head. He can't help but feel glad he didn't say the colonel's name. Obviously, he can't contact his business partner. It's lights out for Ferdinand. But he does get a call from Kirsten, telling him to make the smart decision. Ferdinand refuses to listen to her, telling Kirsten she never cared about Rhine or anything, only about herself. Well, Ferdinand, being the cartoon villain he is, still has an escape route. He vanishes through the floor, leaving the authorities looking dumb. He talks to himself, how he didn't really expect to use this escape route, how he never expected to fail, and how he doesn't have anyone by his side anymore. Until he sees at the end, Horrifying. She's there waiting for him. Not to kill him, as he would expect, but to change his fate. even if just a little bit. She destroyed the car he would use to escape, and instead left him a power armor, and a shot of transmitter. Ferdinand wears the armor and walks away to the wastes, wondering about the shot. It would be so much easier. He gets stopped by a group of pioneers. They tell him he could easily kill them with the armor, but they don't care. There will be more pioneers up ahead, no matter how many he kills. He never took the transmitter shot. He accepted his death. As Jean tells Dorothy how she's sad because Ferdinand could have been a great man, Dorothy now has to live with the side effects of the transmitter in her brain. And no, she isn't super powerful because of it. Sonia and Mary hug and say goodbye. Greyy says goodbye. Horrifying gets a call from the Vice President of Columbia. This woman was working for basically everyone in this event. She plays nice and tells him she's following his orders. But she isn't, she's doing her own thing. She goes to have a talk with Kirsten and she offers a partnership, saying she might be the one Kirsten is looking for. And just to make it a little bit spicier, Horrifying rubs shoulders with Astasia on her way out, who came looking for her sister. And the last scene of the event is with Kirsten, as she says all she's striving for is the truth. Oh boy, when you boil everything down, this event isn't that big, but there are so many characters, and many of them have a direct connection to the Rhine Lab manga, so there's so much lore packed in here. They even put some lesser characters in the story to make it feel more human, you know? With a little bit more flavor instead of using generic nameless characters we wouldn't care about at all. And we can expect a lot coming from here in the future, even if not a whole Rhine Lab arc, as we have with the Abyssal Hunters or Casimirs. We still have many characters ready to show up and do their own thing. Kirsten has a lot she could do, Saya clearly still cares about her, Mulsize does as well. We even got Mechanist, who didn't do much admittedly, but is a big name we could possibly see as an op one day. I gotta say, this was a great event. What we got from it in terms of ops were a naive puppy and a war criminal, but that aside, the lore was great. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, so why not tell me what you think in the comments, as well as check my channel and subscribe. But that was it, I hope everyone has a very nice day, peace out.